How many times a day, on average, do you wish that you were abducted and went missing for just a while? Welcome to Not Right Now, the podcast about parenting through all of this. Hey team, Claire and I have a guest today. We are excited to hang out with writer, novelist, parent, and professional overthinker Emily Gould, who has documented, internet fame and friendship and motherhood and partnership and marriage and midlife chaos with pretty incredible honesty and precision for the rest of us. And yeah, it was a blast to have her on the show. So thanks for listening.
When you are like binging on something or maxing, or you're like, fuck it, we're just going to like having a food party. Where do you have it?
It's a good question. And it's an important part of getting away because as you were talking, you were listing all the different things you get for your upcoming annual getaway, including Trader Joe's knockoffs of hybrids of other things, cheese curls and stuff. Logistical questions before we get to my version.
Sure.
One, are you responsible for doing all the shopping and ahead of time? Is that sort of agreed upon?
No, we compare notes. Oh, a big one is pimento cheese dip as well. So my friend, she's bringing some cut of vegetables, which sounds like whatever. That's like all logistic. I don't have to deal with it. I don't have to pack them ahead of time. And yeah, we'll have to get some plates. Like I said, cheese crackers. We'll also have Culver's for lunch the second day after we have some DoubleTree, breakfast buffet. So, I take a statin now. So I figure I could eat as much cholesterol as I want.
I think that's how it works, right?
I'm immune.
You're covered now.
If I don't eat it, it probably hurts. Like it's probably my cholesterol gets dangerously low. So I need to, do the best I can. So
are the boys, this is the one where the two boys who are quote unquote best friends get to go, right? Are they, how much of this food do they get to access? Or is this strictly adults?
Oh, they get their own share, and it is so gross. They have, like Doritos spilling out onto the bed and pizza on the floor.
Oh,
and a toothbrush. Last year I saw a toothbrush like face down on the hotel carpet floor. I was to say, this is like kind of, you're like, whatever, this is your time, go for it. So
it's like pre-frat life, basically.
Yeah. And like I said, like these two call each other their best friends. They've never had to face a moment of adversity together. All they know is pizza and pool and hotel and shared Lego sets and things like that. So
right. This is very far from, do you want to see a dead body? Like they haven't gone through anything.
Yeah. It's like if you thought being married was like being engaged, but that's fine. And then my friend and she and I catch up a little bit, but also we'll sit on our respective hotel beds and just look at our computers as well. As to quote Best in Show, we can talk or not talk for hours, and it's great.
That's the beauty of it. Best in Show, so timely right now for 1,000 reasons. We'll have to come back to mine because our guest is joining us.
We should ask her our question as well.
100%. Hello.
Hi. Hey.
How are you?
Just taking a deep breath. Sorry, I was just a daily newsletter. So
I want to hear what you're working on, but if you want to catch up, Quinn and I were just talking about, I'm going away with a girlfriend. We have this annual trip where we take our two oldest boys and we meet up at a hotel, and we have shared like joining hotel rooms, and we eat as much like Trader Joe's snacks as we want. So I was just asking Quinn, like if he's on a food vacation or like a planned binge, like what his food of choice would be. So if you want to think about that and answer, that's what we're currently talking about.
Do you want me to go so that Emily has time to think about her answer?
Yeah, let Emily catch her breath.
So I appreciate all your detail. Well, let me ask one last question. Do you get through everything that you bring?
No, that would be foolish. Then that's not, I don't need to be a completist. Plus, like, it's good to have food. The other thing is that there's another hotel night the second day with the younger kids. So I have to save a little bit of room in my stomach for day 2. So
also, let's be honest, besides the cut vegetables that your friend is bringing, nothing on that list is expiring anytime soon. So it doesn't really matter. Sure.
No, absolutely not. So when you are having a food party, what are you having?
So my best friend, Nate, and I, friend of the pod, we had one scheduled for 2 weeks ago, but the ice storm fucked the whole thing up. So we're trying to schedule for a couple weeks from now. Pretty excited. We typically just go to an Airbnb and do nothing. Sometimes we do like puzzle games on Steam or something, but by the time the gummies kick in, we've lost track of the puzzle. And this for like, Rummy Cube or anything like that. It's all well-intentioned until the gummies kick in. But food-wise, so we don't really do anything ahead of time. We have realized we both get enormous joy out of, instead of meeting at the Airbnb, he lives about 4 hours away from here. We meet at the closest grocery store beforehand and just literally like ride on the back of the cart and throw things into it. And it's just, it's great because I'm a monster and I just eat fucking cut vegetables basically and chocolate chip cookies. But this shopping is just chocolate chip cookies. There's a lot of bagels. This is so lazy of me. He hand makes every ounce of a handmade lasagna ahead of time, and he makes it vegan for me. And each time it's different. It's fucking incredible. So that's like the base layer of most of our weekend. Sometimes the lasagna goes on a bagel. Sometimes it's by itself. Always
Wow.
finished off with a bowl of, in my case, again, like coconut-based ice cream because kill me. That would, you should lose a foot to diabetes for this thing. But again, like you said, it's just let it happen,
Emily, I know that you cook. You are a good cook. I know you are homies with Allison Roman, but like if you are, having a store-bought food party, either with
Mhm.
friends or at home or whatever, like what is your poison normally? Like
This isn't
sweet,
like hosting a
savory?
dinner party, though. I think what we're talking about is like,
No,
there's
food
no rules.
party,
Okay,
not
okay,
cooking. Yeah.
okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm not a good cook anymore. My cooking skills have atrophied because my kids only eat the same 5 meals in a rotation. Actually, one of my kids only eats 2 of the meals, and for the rest of the meals, they eat either chicken nuggets or Annie's mac and cheese, and those are literally the only things they eat. So, yeah, cooking is not really a thing for me anymore. I did have an amazing food party for myself. Actually, it seems so long ago, but I guess it was actually technically speaking last week. I went to Baltimore by myself to work on my book in my friend Laura Lipman's spare house in Baltimore, which is just an amazing sense. And this is like saving my life. Laura Lipman deserves to have a parade thrown in her honor, basically. But yeah, whenever I go there, I try not to do any domestic duties whatsoever. I mean, I clean up after myself and I like shower, but that's it. So I always get like 2 cases of Spindrift, a bunch of cheese and crackers and like cured meats and like yogurts for breakfast and a lot of coffee, obviously. And I'm really addicted to this Califia Farms almond coffee creamer. So that's like a necessity of my life, as are the 2 cases of Spindrift, obviously. And then for dinner, it's like pretty sad. I'll make spaghetti with jarred tomato sauce or a frozen pizza. All of this is gluten-free, by the way, because I have celiac, so it's extra sad. And a carton of ice cream. That is what's in my grocery cart for the week. I also like to go, because I don't live in the suburbs, I like to go to like drugstore aisle in New York City grocery stores and get like whatever fucking, like under eye patches.
That's a great idea. I need to write that down for my
That is a good idea.
Do those work?
No, I'm sure they don't. They feel nice, though. They feel good under your eye.
But that's all that matters,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It temporarily distracts you from what's going on, and it might be good. You're like about to put makeup on right afterwards. I did that. I went to a school dance last week, and a school party. It was a fundraiser, but I had the eye patches on, and I had also gotten a facial a couple of days before, and they upsold me like on the spot. They're like, "Do you want this extra collagen doohickey?" And I said yes. And the lady was really nice. She's like, "Here's the packaging. There's still a lot of collagen in it if you want to put it on your face." So I did, because I was like, I want to get my money's worth. So I was putting laundry away with my eye thing on.
I think we're just at the point now, and I got a good talking to from a friend of mine a couple years ago about this, where we all know like the supplement game is a fucking nightmare. And if you take any of it with real medicine and they're just like, hey, here's how much is in this, here's how much is in that, totally unregulated. But for other things, for the face stuff and like a foam roller by any of these things, if they're not going to measurably hurt you, great. I don't care if they actually work. It's, do they feel good in the moment? And my buddy, this guy, he's a Nike master trainer. His name is Joe Holder. I'll wait if you want to look him up, because he's basically like the most beautiful human you've ever seen. I think, Claire, I've made you do this before, but his whole gist
I
is
said
like,
thank you for this picture.
you're welcome. His whole gist is you're old and need to do quote unquote recovery as much as you do everything else. He's like, if it's not like actively harming you, great. Just if it helps you sleep, great. So
I pay for a fancy neck cream, and Emily, maybe you have one of these where it comes with a rose quartz scraper so you can scrape your neck. And that's why my neck is so beautiful, is because I constantly scrape it with this rose quartz
Your
thingy, and I keep it
yeah,
on the
your neck
windowsill so
actually
it's nice
your
and
neck
cold.
actually is beautiful, and so now I feel like I have to buy this, so thanks for
I'll send it
advertising
to
those
you.
things for free.
this is like Claire's Tupperware shill.
Emily, tell us about the newsletter you just put out, and also if your book is fiction or nonfiction, tell us a little bit what you're working on.
So I do a daily newsletter for New York Magazine called Dinner Party, which I guess the original idea of it, I didn't invent it, Corey Sika invented it, was that it would be like if you're at an imaginary dinner party, or if you actually are going to a dinner party this evening, it's like, here are some talking points. Like here you everything you need to be sort of like up to date on happenings in the world about whatever I'm interested in. I have a great deal of freedom, for better or for worse. Was sure a little sick of hearing about Heated Rivalry at this point, but joke's on them because I will be ever in
Yeah,
my.
not
I'm
going
going to
anywhere.
be in the nursing home, being like, her kind of story, yes. So that's my job, and I also have another part of my job, which is actually writing features for the magazine. And then my book, 3 years overdue, but they've been really nice about it. They don't care. Is a memoir. It's sort of an expansion of an article I published a couple of years ago called The Lure of Divorce. And it's about a time in my life when I, kind of had like a a lot of people say like, oh, I had a midlife crisis, but I had like the kind of midlife crisis where you have to go to the hospital. And a whole bunch of stuff happened. Definitely thought I was getting a divorce. Ended up not getting a divorce. Still with my husband. Love him. Great guy. And yes, I'm just sort of writing about like marriage, mental health, being in a man woman marriage in America. And, how long have I been married? I guess like 2014 up until now. Like it's basically my older son's lifetime has been, because he's 10 and a half. So it's like he's really lived through we didn't start the fire before he learned how to like not wear a diaper, basically.
Last week we had Mark Graham and Megan Graham on, and we're talking about kind of the older days of blogging and things like that. And I'm just curious how writing comes to you lately compared to, pre-kids, pre-Trump, pre-all that stuff. Does it come to you the same way, or does it, do you have a different relationship towards putting your thoughts down and putting them out in the world?
Oh, wow. That's such an interesting question. It almost feels like things should have changed for me more than they actually have. I want to think that I have evolved and changed a lot as a human being. And then I'll look at something that I wrote, 10, 15, 20 years ago, and I'll be like, damn, bitch. So, yeah, I think when I first started writing, I was pretty gratuitously mean a lot of the time, and it was sort of a posture. And now I try to hold back a little bit so that my meanness can be more targeted and have more of an impact when I deploy it.
At your children?
That's smart.
And my husband.
That's what I usually save mine for. Yeah, no, I mean,
Yeah.
of course, obviously. I assume I exist to just absorb friendly fire at this point, whether it's warranted or not. Most of the time, I'm like, that works.
I agree. I made Steve, this is not exactly mean, but I was like, I save it for Steve. And if I can make him laugh, like in shock, then I feel good. But as we speak, Nancy Guthrie is still sadly missing, and we don't know what's happening to her. And I just think it's been the discourse around, I think the true crime heads are really over the top because people think that there's got to be something like even more fucked up than just this horrible kidnapping. And I told Steve, I said, what if Charles, like the Lindbergh baby, was alive and he kidnapped Nancy Guthrie, and that
Into it.
he like, yeah. So that's like where I say my edginess, but yeah, I know what I don't have good stuff for the newsletter per se.
Can I ask you both an honest question? How many times a day, on average, do you wish that you were abducted and went missing for just a while? I'm going to say,
I don't,
honestly, to me, it's like 2. And I think I'm being honest about that.
I mean, I don't want to be glib about things like suicidal ideation, but I do sometimes just wish to sleep forever, if that's like another nicer way of putting it. I don't have the adrenaline to be kidnapped. Like that seems like that'd be really
But you don't have to
exhausting.
do
So,
anything. What do you mean? What do you mean
well,
you don't? You just Sure, I'll get in the van. You don't, or they'll probably put you in the van. You don't need to do anything.
I guess. I don't, yeah, I haven't thought, I think I've read too much about kidnapping, maybe because I'm a woman, but about like how to open a trunk from the inside, or how you leave your DNA inside, or you scratch in the face so you have DNA under your fingernails. Like, I don't know. I've thought about it maybe a little bit more. Emily, I don't know if you've thought a lot about
Sure.
kidnapping, like what you would do or how you'd fight back.
I mean, I've seen every episode of Law and Order SVU, so it's not like I've never thought about it. Are we talking about like a sensory deprivation tank type of experience where you get like the black bag put over your head and then you get put in a cell and like they just bring you food or whatever?
If someone's bringing me food, they can take me wherever they want, to be completely honest. Like, I'm just like, where can my kids not ask me questions?
I just really want to look at my phone though. I mean, I kind of just want what I had last week, to be honest, which apart from the part where I had to, try to write a book, it's really amazing. I just write classic novels. No, just kidding. I read infinity amounts of Heated Rivalry fan fiction on AO3.
All right, let's talk about Heated Rivalry. I know that you love it. I have a friend.
No, don't make me do that.
Well,
It's enough.
I have another friend who's really into it. Shout out to Christina Rentz, and she loves it. And people who love Heated Rivalry love talking about Heated Rivalry.
Yeah, we don't love
And
it
I'm
a
not
normal
really-
amount at all. We have a disease.
And I'm not drawn to it. I don't know if it's just like I don't want dicks in my, like, I'm kind of surprised that you live with so many guys and you still like willingly are going towards more like dick content. But did you feel like were there other forms of fiction like rom-com, homosexual rom-com fiction that did it for you prior to this, or did Heated Rivalry just touch something? I know also Keith, your husband, has like a real thing for hockey, so I don't know if that's like part of it as well, like the hockey being turned on its dick, basically.
Yeah, and he's Russian, so there's that. There are a lot of possible explanations for this. So my feeling is that even though I am attracted to these two men who are doing it with each other, it's actually really gay of me to be attracted to them that way. And let me explain what I mean by that. So the series is made by a gay writer and showrunner, director, Jacob Tierney, but based on books that are written by a woman, Rachel Reed, as so much like romance is. And so when I was talking to a friend recently who was like, this show made me come out to my parents as bisexual. Like, I feel like more gay than ever, but it's so confusing because I also am really attracted to these men. I'm like, well, the thing that you have to remember is that these are men who have the psychosexual interiority of women. So it's kind of like, it's like a very queer lust, even though it is simultaneously a very heterosexual lust. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, I mean, Tierney did an incredible job, but there's no doubt, like, so much of it's in the book. It's lovely, and that is a very different thing if the source material is written by a dude.
I mean, and there are romances that are written by like non-binary folks, but it's really small shelf of those books that are written by men. And I was talking to someone who's like, well, because like men don't read or write genre fiction for the most part. I mean, unless the genre we're talking about is like thrillers or sci-fi or mysteries, like the sort of like women coded genres of fiction. I mean, it's probably just that simple. I think like gay men who watch the show and are like, I don't see myself represented at all, will be like, let's pen the necessary corrective and like, sounds great. Let's do that.
Now, has it gotten you more into hockey in general? Like, do you find yourself, watching the sport more now?
Yeah, I mean, every time Keith is watching hockey now, which is happening a lot because the Olympics, obviously, he's like, look, they're all gay. They're all gay. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I can like suspend my disbelief to that extent. But I mean, I have actually always, of all the televised sports, like hockey is the one that I have always like least minded watching. So, and it's like, it's pretty straightforward. Like, as like a character on the show actually said, like, you just have to score more goals than the other team. It's like not that hard. Whereas like football, it's like, I don't know what the fuck is happening.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
No, football is needlessly
And
complex,
baseball,
confusing. And
forget about it.
Baseball.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is true. There's a million rules that like always pop up that you don't understand. But well, I love that for you. I'm glad that you have something that you love so much. I bet that Keith is glad that you are slightly more interested in hockey now. I've also been thinking about you with the Olympics because of Ilya. I forgot his last name, but the quad god has the same name as your son. And I don't know if you knew that, Quinn, that she has a son named Ilya. Are you
This
guys
is very
excited
exciting.
about the quad god and his floppy hair and his ice skating capabilities?
Yeah, Ilya is always excited by Ilya representation of any kind. Ilya very recently has started to use they, them pronouns. I probably should have tipped you to that earlier, but
Okay.
that's kind of a new development, but not earth-shattering development. Everyone who we've told so far has been like, yeah.
Sure.
I'm so sorry to bring up Heated Rivalry again, but you know that one of the characters on Heated Rivalry is also named Ilya, right?
No, I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
I thought that's where you were going, Claire. I thought you were trying to
No, I have a real blind spot with
make
Heated
all the
Rivalry.
penises touch,
My God,
crossing all the swords.
I'm literally blushing right now. Like, don't make me have to talk about my crush in public. Yeah, like friends have even asked me, like, is it weird for you that like this character who we all think is so hot has the same name as your child? And it's like, no, because I don't really file people with the same name in the same like filing cabinet in my mind, because if I was going to do that, then like I would be in the same filing cabinet as like Emily Ratajkowski, like, and also infinity other people named Emily. So
There was a great SNL skit. I can't remember who the guest was, who was running for New York State Congress under the name Jeff Epstein. And it's just a campaign video. It's fucking incredible. It's incredible.
That's amazing. No, I did not realize about Heated Rivalry. You have to save that for, I don't know, next time I get COVID or something like that. I have a friend whose child is trans and their kid is really into Drag Race and they've gone all in, and their dad is almost like he's almost like a parody of a supportive dad. Like, it's not enough that their kid is into drag. The dad is now like, can you make a career out of drag?
It's too much.
Just almost going too far. And so the dad heard that Heated Rivalry was like the shit. And I think he kind of thought all gay things are all the
Oh my
same. So the
God,
dad was
no.
like, let's all sit down and watch Heated Rivalry. Yeah. And he quickly was like, realized that's not the same thing as Drag Race at all. And not all like things are created equal. But love a supportive dad who tries at the very least. But yeah, that sounds like, I remember watching the movie Wild, the Oscar Wilde movie, with my parents in the room, and that was awful. So, certain things are not meant for kids and parents to watch at the same time.
I had the worst experience like that. I must have been like the age that Rafi is now, like 10 or 11, and we were all watching Big together, which Big is kind of not okay, actually.
Yeah, agree.
Oh,
yeah.
1,000 ways. I just didn't know I was trying to think if there's some like specific explicit scene in it. And I was like, I don't think so.
No,
but overall,
Putting
not
his
okay.
hands on her
touches
breast.
Oh, sure.
boobies, and it's like a 13-year-old boy in a grown Tom Hanks's body. And I got up to go to the bathroom, and my mom was like, "What's wrong, honey?" And I was like, "I just really have to pee." And she was like, "Honey, sit back down. They're just making love." It's actually amazing that I've ever had sex in my life after that happened to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is
That's
some
amazing.
capital T trauma right there. Also, I can hardly bring myself to say the words. Making love has to be the worst possible way you can refer to the sex.
I would say Big and also Back to the Future are hard ones to watch if you are the mother of boys, especially. Those are real, like, you're like, I don't want to go here. And I'm not even like that much of a prude, but you're like, this is like thought experiments that I didn't want to go into. I had an idea I was going to try to write a Shouts and Murmurs piece, or whatever, the humor piece. Is that Shouts and Murmurs? Yeah. About whether there were big men like walking around town and women, like a conversation about whether you're married to a man who's actually his own age or whether he's like a big little man. You know what I mean? Like your husband is actually 13 years old. But I was like, that's a concept. That's not a piece, but that's hilarious. That's how my writing is. I'm like, here's an idea, and I'm not going to even try to flesh it out beyond that thought.
I don't know. I feel like it could be a short story.
Yeah. Well, I feel like the gag is like all men are 13, but I feel like there's so much content that explores that, you know. Speaking of little guys and little people, not guys necessarily, but what are your kids up to these days? Give us like the state of the union on what Ilya and Rafi are into, up to.
Oh, so for like Hanukkah, Christmas, I was basically like Rafi likes Stranger Things and Ilya likes Squishmallows and Labubu's. So
Mhm.
yeah, the two genders, Squishmallows and
Mhm.
Labubu's, Stranger Things. The amount
Yeah.
that 10-year-old boys like Stranger Things is really, it's a very large amount.
It's kind of a flex. I feel like it's a big boy thing, you know, big kid.
Oh, like I can handle this scary show where they say curse words. Yeah, totally. I mean,
Yeah.
the show that he really liked before he liked Stranger Things was Only Murders in the Building, which is such a like New
Oh,
York lonely
So
boy show
sophisticated.
to like.
Yeah.
I'm like, I
yeah.
thought the show was
Yeah,
just for
seriously.
boomers, but actually, I guess it's for
Mhm.
boomers and 10-year-old boys who are excited by murders, cursing, and maybe
Meryl
low
Streep.
key Selena Gomez. Yeah.
That's dear. That's adorable, though. I like that because that's much more interesting than Paul had the flu last week. He's still getting over it, which is I'm really sick of. But on his sickest day, he watched like 6 hours of Beast Games, which don't ask me any of the rules or whatever happens. All I know is that Mr. Beast only talks at a scream the whole time. And that's all and he had an island. He had an island he could give away. And that was all like the only thing I took away
An
from it. But
island, this
yeah.
economy, like, I mean,
Mhm.
I don't mean the literal
Yeah.
economy. I just mean the Epstein of it all. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, and it did seem Epstein-y where you're like, "Ooh, it looks seedy and not nice," and, you know, if we're gonna have
It's
an
like the
island,
Fire
like, have a
Festival.
nice island. Yeah, exactly. I wanna, like, this is a weird transition or not a good transition, but whatever. We're talking about your writing, talking about life in general and parenting, and I know you haven't done this for a little bit, but I think it's so fascinating that you, for a little while, were doing a parenting advice column for New York Magazine. Someone else is helming it now, right? Are they still running it?
It recently got revived under the aegis of Allison Davis. And it's not a parenting advice column, although it did answering a lot of parenting questions during my reign, but it's kind of like if you're going through it.
Okay,
Yeah.
going through anything. Yeah. For a part of my life, I kind of wanted to be an advice columnist. And then I happened to have the honor and pleasure of Amy Dickinson, Ask Amy, helped me. She gave me the chance to answer a question from someone who wrote into her column saying, "Help, I can't take my kids grocery shopping because my kid is always like a monster when I take him shopping. Like, what do I do?" And I realized you have such a little amount to answer, and you might say so much more in person to someone, but it's so different between writing it in a quick little column. And this was, you know, even in this case, it was relatively minor, you know, but I still felt their pain. What didn't involve something as hard as money or heartbreak or cheating or mental health or things like that. And yeah, I just want to know what that was like, what kind of questions you got, anything that like stuck with you after all that time. Like, what was harder about it than you anticipated? Talk a little bit about your career as an advice columnist.
I guess one of the things that I realized pretty early on in the game is that the advice that you give is not for the person who asked the question. You're writing with them in mind, obviously, but it's much more for the people who will see your advice. And maybe they've experienced something sort of spiritually akin to what's going on in the question. And they might be able to take something from your advice. And that relieves you of the pressure of feeling like if the person doesn't take your advice, then you've failed. Because I know just from like staying in touch with some of the people who asked advice column questions, especially those having to do with like, my boyfriend did X, Y, and Z. Should I dump him? Like, there were two questions that I answered from the same question asker that were along the lines of like, my boyfriend X, Y, and Z. Should I dump him? And my answer both times was like, whatever Liz Lemon's catchphrase was when she briefly had
That's a deal
that's a
breaker.
deal breaker, lady. Anyway, they're engaged.
Oh,
So, you know, it's not a sprint though. It's a marathon. Could still call the engagement off. Could still get a divorce. But also the thing I said earlier about like the advice not being for her. Like it's for It's for
Yeah.
everyone who reads it. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. It's pretty low lift having an advice column. I really find writing a daily newsletter to be more draining than having a biweekly advice column.
I don't know how you do
I
that.
volunteered for it too. I'm so dumb. As soon as Corey told me that he was quitting, I marched into David Haskell's office and I was like, I volunteer as tribute. And David like pretended like he was going to say no. I just knew I would be really good at it. And to me, that seemed like a good enough reason to do it. But if I were giving advice column style to my former self, I would probably tell her, just because you are good at something doesn't mean you have to do it.
And also doing something because it's pleasurable. I think we talked about this with dinner time, maybe, that just because you like cooking doesn't mean that doing it every day because you have to makes it fun. That's how I feel about writing and cooking, things like I used to do once in a while as a gag, or as a treat. And then once it becomes your grind, it's not as much fun.
I've ruined so many things for myself by professionalizing them. It's a lesson I will never learn.
Quinn, what's something that you used to do for fun that you ruined by doing it too well or taking it on too much?
Claire, I'm in an office above a candy shop in Colonial Williamsburg because I wasn't allowed to keep my toys at home. I come home and my children just don't greet me. I don't remember what fun was. I mean, I love cooking. I still love cooking, but kind of the same thing. I wouldn't say it was like beaten out of me and more just they can only be like, I'm not going to eat that. I don't like that without having ever had it before you just go, well, I'm out. We're just doing frozen edamame every time. Like, I don't know what to tell you. You can fight that for a little while, or like everything else in marriage and parenthood, you can just give up. And it's so much easier to give up and requires so much less. I told my wife the other night, she's like, you're being pretty quiet at dinner. I was like, yeah, I'm trying not to yell at the kids, like what you've asked me not to do. All the time I was like, it's addition by subtraction. I'm just not participating and everybody's better for it, clearly. Bedtime going south, I just removed myself from the situation because it's not that I'm not helping anymore. It's that I'm not helping anymore.
Right.
And if they need some shit, they can come find me in my fantasy book as I lay on my heating pad in bed. So I don't know. It's a typically loaded way of saying like, I don't know what fun is anymore.
Paul, our oldest one, he's 13 and a half, almost exactly. And he's been, being that age hasn't been that bad on him, but he has been kind of moody lately. And I don't know if it's because he's sick or it's hormones or just whatever. But my husband doesn't react well to it for some reason. I don't think he remembers being a teenager, or I have just this theory that he hated being a teenager so much that he just like doesn't like it from my living through it again. And so our son has not been like he's been kind of cranky and taking his time in the morning. So this morning I woke Paul up a little bit early so he had a little bit extra time so that he could get his ass down and have breakfast. And so he was eating breakfast and I pointed out to Steve, I said, look at how Paul's eating his breakfast and he's already dressed. And he said, good job, Paul. And I was just thinking, I bet we all congratulate our kids on the most basic, fundamental, like, wins or failures to fuck up. And so if you could point out something that you did slightly better than normal that you would want credit for, what would you demand that your spouse or the world at large say? Look, you know what? I brushed my hair today. Don't I look nice? Or I remember to brush my teeth for the full 2 minutes last night. Don't I get a little pat on the head? Like, what would you demand some kind of recognition for?
There's this idea of in the self-improvement world of, in sort of the manosphere, stoicism and stuff of which some of it's great, some of it's ridiculous, but it's like be strict with yourself and, patient with others in the sense you judge yourself by your intentions, but you judge everyone else. Anyways, the point is I think I deserve credit. I don't think my children deserve any credit. It's the reverse. Like you're eating breakfast? Like you actually put your fucking bowl away? I don't know, man. I don't understand why that should be rewarded at this point.
Oh, I agree.
I'm
I
done.
just wish, especially a kid with ADHD, you have to kiss their ass so much, like for just the most function. Like,
Oh yeah.
who are you praising at home, Emily? Who's getting the boosts that, they should just be doing it?
Well, Raffi, obviously, but my whole thing with parenting Raffi is that like the hardest thing about parenting him is that it's like looking in a mirror all the time.
If that's the diagnosis, we all have ADHD.
No,
but
but
I don't want
We
to
were
meet
all
the person
under the
who
desk
enjoyed that.
immediately.
But yeah.
But it was, I mean, I think it was a little bit more like watching him struggle with things. I'm like, oh, I've developed like elaborate mental workarounds for all of these things, and maybe life doesn't have to be that hard.
When did you first realize you were looking in the mirror with them? Because I get it, and it's a rude awakening.
God, I want to say the minute he was born, he's just had the same personality for his
Really?
entire life. Yeah, yeah, like everything about him. And Ilya has just been also his opposite in every way. Like Keith was telling me, like as they were walking home from school yesterday, he was telling some story about Raffi from like when Raffi was little. And Ilya was like, tell a story about me from when I was little. And I guess this is also a classic like second child thing, but it's just like, Betty, like basically like you were born and then we kind of didn't hear a peep out of you for like the next 4 years. We actually have to really struggle to like give Ilya enough attention because Raffi is just he's exactly like me. He's like, oh, this conversation is not about me. Like I'm either tuning out or I'm making it be about me.
Yeah.
And you're like, let me teach you some tricks.
Yeah. He's that tweet, I'm uncomfortable if this is not about me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I'm basically like, I have at least like learned how to deceive other people into thinking I'm interested.
I do wonder if my kids realize that like they're not the main characters in my life. Like I wonder if they are aware of that, but I
that's a
also
good
know
question.
they don't think about that. I know I don't exist. I know I'm a non-entity to them.
It's kind of,
most
what was the
time.
Mad Men quote when he, what's his face, steps into the elevator?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think about you at all. That's it. I'm like, oh, how was your school day? And they're like, good. I'm like, man, I missed you all day. I thought about what you were doing, this and this. And you can see in their eyes, they're just like, why are you still alive? Like, Jesus Christ. They're like, I haven't thought about you since the second I stormed out the door this morning.
I guess I just get treated like the background maid. And it starts in the
Mhm.
morning when I ask James, what do you want for breakfast? And I already am mad at that I even have to do that because like in a perfect world, he would have already fixed himself breakfast. And then he will decline to answer because he hasn't decided yet, and I'm like, don't you understand who I was once? I have a master's degree. I have published books. Like I have a podcast. And I have to wait for you to discern, whether you'll allow me to fix you a bowl of cereal or one piece of toast that was in this morning. One piece only. All right. Sorry. Like, noted. I said noted because noted is code for fuck you, but I heard you. That's like how I track that. Ours is different where my firstborn, when we're going to have a second one, I was like, he will let us know what kind of kid our firstborn was. And the answer was he was easy. And then we had the spirited, I think we talked about this, right? Using the term spirited and I always say with a hard T because it's more fun that way for when a kid just sucks you dry and, again, makes you praise him for being just like the most like just doing the least as a human being. And you're like, thank you so much for, acknowledging my feelings or something like that.
This conversation is making me realize that my husband does this to me, actually. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's sincere. I would like to believe that it's sincere and not that he's not like managing me, but I'll be like, oh, I did like X, Y, and Z today. And he's like, so hardworking.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Does it really, you're like, I hope he's not managing me. I'll take it where I can get it. Like, I don't care how sincere it is at this point. Like,
Yeah.
clearly nobody else gives a shit. So if one person's like, that's really great, I'm like, fuck yeah, I'll take. So
Yeah. If you said it out loud, you want someone to say, you're not going to hear Keith be like, blah, blah. Like he knows that you're a woman in 2026 who's perimenopausal and your mom and you live in New York. Anything you do deserve praise. So,
Correct.
Yeah.
Literally last night, he was like, you took the subway into Manhattan. Like, you worked at your job and then you came home and you made dinner. Like, and I'm just like, yeah, I did. I did do all that
Fuck
stuff.
yeah.
No, that is not condescension. All of that is, I back up Keith, either ironically or not ironically, you do deserve recognition for all that, especially anytime anyone makes dinner ever deserves a thank you. Steve does a good job thanking me in front of the boys because Steve's dad was I've talked about this a lot of times, but Steve's dad is one of those like chronically picky eaters who not only rejects food, he will reject sitting at the table with people. He'll kind of make a point of not joining dinner and like will reject food so much. So I appreciate that Steve will like make a point of thanking me for the effort of making dinner in front of the boys, like even if they don't realize it or not. So I'm glad Keith is giving you your due. Emily, we talked about this once a while ago, but how much, especially Raffi, but how much do the kids know about your writing or follow your writing? Like both you and Keith, but like how much are they reading what you do? And, you know, what are your policies right now on writing about the kids or talking about the kids?
So I give them photo approval for stuff that I'm posting on like Instagram. I feel like that's the bare minimum that I should be doing. We have sort of made mistakes that we can't take back at this point with vis-a-vis Raffi. Like Raffi has a very skewed sense of his own importance in the world because he's like, there's a book about me. Like there's a whole book about the first 6 years of my life. He has read not entirely positive reviews of that book because that's what comes up when you Google his name. I think we should probably have a therapy fund the same way that we should have a college fund for him. But at the same time, I'm like, he's a pretty, I mean, you know, it's just like luck of the draw stuff. I don't credit anything that we have done or not done. Although we have on and off taken him to like a really good therapist. He's just like a pretty cool customer with a pretty unshakable sense of his own, like who he is and like how he sees the world. And I'm not super worried about him. I do worry more about Ilya in part because like there is no book about Ilya and there's never going to be a book about Ilya. Like there's a book called Raising Raffi. There is never going to be a book called Illuminating Ilya because, like I said, even as a baby, he was just kind of like, hey, so whenever you get around to it, no big deal, but my diaper's wet and could I also have some milk, please? Okay, just whenever you have time. Like, no worries if not. We don't really have like rules or policies. We probably should. I'm not thinking about that stuff with my like first draft of this book because I just like can't. I can't think about that stuff right now.
Dedicate this book to Ilya. Put it like dedicate it to them.
I can't. I already said I dedicate it to Laura Lipman.
Well, you can put Ilya before Raffi in the acknowledgements at the very end, you know. Yeah. And you can tell Ilya that they were mentioned in this podcast, so they're not completely given short shrift. They are also exposed, as you know, all of our poor children have been.
That's the thing, like you know, they would not even care. They would not even care because they really don't care about external validation. Wow. I had a home birth, so I know for sure that Ilya was not switched at birth. But if that were not the case, I would be genuinely concerned. Because we just look at him all the time. We're like, seriously, genetically, how did this happen to us? Like this person has nothing in common with any of us. He is the only person in their household who has like any executive functioning whatsoever. He's always like, guys, what are we doing this weekend? Guys, we need to make a list of all the stuff that we need to do before people come over. Like, who's vacuuming? Wow. He's like, Mom, has it been a while since we changed the sheets on my bed?
Amazing. I'm glad you have someone in your house. I'm glad you gave birth to the home, like the house manager. Like you gave birth to a family advisor, basically, that you have someone like that. You deserve it.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to be the one who's supporting all of us in our old age. Unless, of course, Raffi, you know, makes good on his potential to be a wildly successful child streaming.
You know, they all do
whatever star.
They have their own like their strengths. Like Paul can put James to bed, but James will be the one who like. I don't agree with this necessarily, but I went through this emergency with my mom in December, and I had to call 911 and all this shit. And James was the one who was like, "Mom, you're kind of a hero for saving Granny's life." And I didn't need that, and I don't necessarily agree with it, but that's the kid. The one who like gives us the hardest time that we have to spend the most therapy money on is the one who will say that kind of thing, you know? Or what was he saying? Something about Donald Trump, where he was, about ICE. I forgot, but he was like, it's like they're behaving what they're accusing everyone else of doing. And you're like, how did you become like this? You know, even though you are the most selfish, wild, like self-centered person, you can have all this wisdom and empathy at the same time, like when we're not paying attention. So, you know, I tried to offer the kids the chance to quit Evil Witches. I think I kind of wanted the excuse to stop doing it, basically. And I was like, do you guys want me to stop writing about you? Like, Paul's in high school, or he's about to be in high school. I was like, do you guys want? And they were adamant. They wanted me to keep going. Like, they don't, it's not like they read it, but they know I do it and they just like it. Like, they like the idea of it. And they're like, no, don't quit. So I was like, okay, do you read it? Because I don't always say nice things about you guys, but I guess you'll figure that out later on. So I don't know. Quinn, what's up with your kids? You don't really write about your kids too much, but when you do, are you rolling it by Dana? You guys are pretty private about them on social media. You guys are like good people.
Well, a lot of that started, honestly, when we were in LA. So much of your life when you were there, and there's pros and cons to this. I always compare it to DC, which is it's very incestuous, your work and your life and your personal and your work. And you have a lot of long-term friends if you're lucky, but you also some of the projects, if you're lucky enough to work, which doesn't really exist anymore, they're so intense for a period of time. Like TV show could be a while or it could be a month, a feature is a few years, depending on what your role in it is. And the point is you end up spending a lot of time with folks who are getting photographed and doing things like that all the time. And that was a big part of when our kids were little. My wife went back to work after a week, partly because she's a workaholic and partly because she was running a TV show and they made her do that, which was awesome. So awesome. We were lucky to have help. But the point was like the kid was on set and then the other kids were on set. And we had one moment, and this is not this actress's fault. She's a dear friend. We were living in New York. My wife was making a movie and someone got pictures of our friend with two of our very small children. We had 3 under 3 at one point, Emily. So it was like babies on babies. As my wife used to say, she was like, but I already have a baby. How could I have another baby? And then there was a third one. One of these folks with picture with our baby. And then it was on, I don't know, it was on Twitter. It was on something. And someone else, some random person posted like a shitload of pictures of this person with our kid, basically. And I was like, oh, people have pictures of like our very small children saved to their, collecting saved to their computer machines. And this is 11 years ago now. But still, we were like, we're just not going to do that as much as we can. 1, we don't post that much anyways. But 2, we were just like, I don't know, feels kind of fucking creepy, and we'd like to give them a choice eventually on that stuff. And, we fuck it up here and there and stuff. And obviously this is different, and I do it less. I mean, I also partly do it less, frankly, because the rest of my job is like, there's a lot of politics involved and stuff like that. And that's obviously not great at the moment, but that's kind of how it evolved. It's different here, certainly, but that's kind of how it evolved. So it is what it is. Again, different here. Yeah. But then, Wicked for good is, well, no, we took them to the Wicked premiere. And I think we took pictures with them. And we were like, they were old enough. Wicked was last year, so they were like 9, 10, 11, 12, something like that. We were like, how do we let them experience this very important part of mom's work that has basically been half their fucking life because she's been working on it for so long without them like getting photographed in some way or whatever? Does that make sense? Like, we want them to be able to go to this thing and see these people they've been hearing about and be a part of this because they were a big part of it, And so we did that, but we still don't. It doesn't matter. They're just going to make AI clones of them at this point.
We've done a pretty bad job of like respecting our kids. Well, I don't want to say respecting our kids' privacy, being circumspect about it, because Steve has been making videos about them since day one and putting them on YouTube. And then during COVID, Paul had an assignment one day to do a weather report. It was like a homeschool thing. And Steve went above and beyond with the production of it. And people loved it so much that we started doing it daily. And people would recognize them on the sidewalk, be like, are you the weather report kid? And the kids, like you, Emily, like with Raffi, for a while, they thought they were like legitimately famous because they were like famous within a small circle of people. And James, I think, is going to be in a commercial soon for Steve's like day job. And I don't know, we try to be good or like thoughtful about certain things. And this is one of those things where, it's like, well, I don't make money off them directly, like with their face being like, here's me making food for them and being like, I don't know, nature's farm, like how kids love.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm I am obviously superior in that way, so I'm
Sure.
not going to worry about
But
it
here's the
for
thing.
now.
This is where, like, I always say to people, and I feel like half the texts I send you are like, Claire, it doesn't matter. There's no rules anymore. It's all relative, right? 10 years ago, I was like, oh, I'm upset that someone has like these pictures of my very small babies on their computer with this person. And now it's like the privacy that doesn't exist anymore for anyone in every single factor of your life in 2026, from fucking flock cameras to people just trying to literally just drive by an abortion clinic and the cell phone provider sold their data to everyone. We're just so far fucking past that. So it's like, good, keep the good intentions, I think, but also acknowledge like it is not great.
Yeah. Well, it also helps that I think, Emily, are we the same where our kids have a different last name from us too? So that makes you feel like sort of slightly separated from them. I know Keith has written about Raffi, so there's that, but you're like, well, there's a little church and state difference going on there. I also remember Keith's book mostly being about him being a dad and then the blood spurting from you when you were giving birth to Raffi. And I think much less about whatever Raffi was going through at the time. So for what it's worth, that's his legacy to me.
Yeah, you really haven't known hell until you have experienced the fact-checking process for someone else's first-person essay. Having you experienced the fact-checking process for one's own first-person essay is really bad, and I have done it many times now, but someone else's, you're just sort of like, I got so mad at that fact checker, I hung up on her. And then it was funny, she like came back into my life much later in a different guise because she had quit the New Yorker and she had started working on her own print at Riverhead of books translated from Chinese, which are all like really good. So I was doing an interview with her and she was like, Emily, like, I don't know if you remember this, but I'm the fact checker you hung up on. Oh,
Oh shit.
no, it's like all good now, and I'm glad that we got an opportunity to smooth things over. But I think she did even sort of understand at the time that it was really not about her.
I was listening. You would absolutely should not take that personally. And if anything, I'm jealous of you that you had a really good reason to hang up on someone. Like I don't hang up on anyone aside from like a spam caller, and maybe I'll sort of hang up on my dad or brother, but that's not exactly the same. Like I feel, everyone hangs up on a relative sometimes to some extent. So Quinn, I don't know if you saw this, but Emily wrote a good painful story about like the middle-age drop-off. I think you said age 40. What did you say in your piece? 42? What was the age drop-off?
40,
it's like
40,
we all get much
44,
older.
the aging cliff. You age in hyperspeed. Apparently, during the year that you are 44 to 45.
Yeah. Okay. Because I'm 46 right now. And someone sent me that piece and I was like, oh, these young bucks, they don't even know. But I just wanted to ask you guys how the state of what is like the most acute side of middle age for you guys right now? Like where, what is making you feel the most of your age at this moment in time?
Besides the fact that I told my kids the other day, I just want to be left alone with my books.
That's
Very
sweet.
honest and scathing about it. Or that I've told you this, Claire, before, how earlier this year, one of my kids was like, why do you make that noise whenever you get up and sit down? I was like, what the fuck? He was like, the groaning whenever you get up and you sit down. I was like, first of all, again, fuck you. Second of all, because I've earned it, man. I've been through it. And I was like, oh, God, I'm fucking old.
Can you make the noise now? Can you?
Not intentionally. No, but
Okay.
many times a day, apparently. Enough to have sincere questions about it. At one time, probably misinterpreted as something else. It is not. It's pain. It's just pain, but earned pain. I don't know. I'm tired. I'm just tired.
Emily, how about you? Where are you feeling the most middle of your age?
I work with a lot of young people, and recently I was in the elevator with my boss's assistant, who was 23, and I was just making chit chat with her, and I was like, "Oh, where do you live?" And she was like, "Oh, I live on the Lower East Side," and I was like, "Oh, yeah, I used to live on the Lower East Side. I lived in the Lower East Side when I was just like, I was doing the math, and I was like, and that is 2 years before you were born."
When it was in black and white. Correct.
Exactly. Yeah. Maybe it was sort of glamorous to her. Maybe she was imagining me hanging out with like Patti Smith, or at the very least, like the cast of Rent. I'm like in a Nan Golden photograph in her mind, basically.
I think for me, I mean, most of the time for me, it's like the College of William and Mary is 10 feet this way. And when I go to the coffee shop, its kids are like class of 2042. And you're like, that's not a real year.
Yeah.
What year were you
Emily,
born? That's not real.
what was it
What
like
the
to
fuck are
be
you
in
talking
Times
about?
Square when they declared World War II was over and that guy kissed that nurse?
Yeah, right. I was the guy in the picture.
Yeah,
Correct.
I just remember the ticker tape falling, and everyone was so happy that the war was over. It was just it's an amazing time to be alive.
Summer.
Yeah, yeah.
No, it is very humbling. Like I still love even it makes me happy to like to think about how young people now will be old someday and like how my son Paul asked me a couple of years ago if Beyonce was still alive. And that made me like that delighted me.
Oh my God, I was watching the Grammys red carpet with Raffi and not the Grammys, sorry, the Golden Globes red carpet with Raffi. And he has like such a handle on who the Gen Z celebs are. I guess from YouTube and also from watching Stranger Things, because like most of them are from Stranger Things. And at one point was like, who's Julia Roberts? And I was just like,
Yeah.
And like, look, she's been out of the spotlight for a minute, but it's by choice, by the way. It's another thing to say is Beyonce's still alive. What are we doing here?
I feel like
what was your reference for Raffi for Julia Roberts?
Well, that was it.
There's no, that's a
That
hard
was the
one
thing
to
is
have
like
an
there
answer.
actually is no movie that would currently appeal to you that stars Julia Roberts. Like I know they've seen Hook where she was Tinkerbell. Terrible casting, by the way. My friend Val, who's a film scholar, suggested The Pelican Brief. Maybe that will be there.
Wow.
Steve is really
Aaron
into
Brockovich?
Ocean's movies,
That's what my mom
and
said.
like the Ocean's movies are not. Yeah, and
Oh
they're
my
not
God,
too
yes,
problematic.
Oceans,
I would
yes,
say.
totally. Next family movie night.
Oh, that's a good
Everyone
idea.
fights about family movie night though. Like we'll try so hard to find something that everyone can agree on, but it's just like 7 and 10.
What has been successful?
Oh, I'm trying to remember the last thing that we all like genuinely enjoyed together. Oh my God, this is really kind of pathetic, but it's probably the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie, even though the Johnny Depp of it all is a little tough, but
You don't have to apologize for. We all have something that we've watched that we like. You know, it's okay.
we gotta
Like,
make a compromise
made James
somewhere.
watch-
Like there's no
Well, you are not complicit.
ethical
It's not like you're
consumption
like by
under
watching this
trouble.
movie, I question Amber Heard's testimony, like, and I'm fine
Mhm.
with marital
Mhm.
rape. Like, it's
Mhm.
okay. Like we've all
Yeah,
been
your
there.
children weren't adopted by Woody Allen. They just enjoyed the movie with the lobster scene.
We actually
haven't.
We made James watch.
done the Woody Allen. Like maybe we should. I don't know. They're growing up in New York City. Like it's an important part of the culture of Diane Keaton.
There's a lot of New York movies.
Yeah,
So
you can show
true.
Diane Keaton, No Father of the Bride, and that'll get the Diane Keaton in there, or and First Wives Club or something like that.
We get them into Nicole Holofcener.
We made James watch.
Got to introduce Nicole Holofcener movies
Yeah.
to the kids real early. I think. Yeah.
But I do think about like my favorite portrayals of mothers of boys because I have a real bee in my bonnet about the boy mom. I know you're not strictly boy mom, but like the whole boy mom narrative. Because I'm like, why do
Claire
people
loves
act
being
like?
called a boy mom.
I'm like, why do people? I don't know who these boy moms are who like made it seem like we like love living with men when it's like everyone blames you for everything, and it can be desperately lonely, and yet they're like the internet is like. These crazy mothers of boys just think their boys are so awesome. I don't know any of them, but in You Hurt My Feelings, Julia Louis-Dreyfus has a really sweet relationship with her son in the movie that made me like I thought was a really sweet. I was like, she's also one of my legendary. Look at her; she raised 2 boys, and she like seems like she got out alive and is happy and looks good. So I see her as like a lodestar. But we did make James watch The Cutting Edge last week as like some Olympics programming that
so
Mark
good.
Mark Graham encouraged us to watch. It's an interesting age in an interesting way. But
Does it hold up?
I
I haven't seen that in a long time.
Super 90s. It is very Taming of the Shrew, like where the one part that I didn't like was that she says, I don't drink. And then they have a drinking scene and she goes from never drinking to having 6 shots of tequila. And she's mad at him because she wants to sleep with him and he says no. And he gets all like a bee in his bonnet over what a mean drunk she is. And you're like, well, that's your fault. Like you got her drunk. So you can't be mad at her for being an angry drunk. But otherwise, she looks so beautiful in the movie. Her eyebrows are so full and her teeth are like slightly brown in this way that like teeth will never be ever again in film or TV. And so, yeah, it was sweet. She's got a lot of turtlenecks that are like and a nice vest. like Emily, and when you were a child, if you ever had like a fancy vest, you know, at a certain time in your life in the late 80s or 90s. But yeah, one of those. But yeah, often though we default to The Simpsons, like when we can't agree on a movie or it's too late to start a movie, like that's what we usually go to.
Yeah.
So,
A friend once said to me, The
well,
Simpsons is like Shakespeare. There's something for everyone.
good philosophy. Well, I will say my middle-aged symptoms right now are everyone's parents are dying or about to die, or my skin is crepey. I'm starting to notice those little like patterns in my skin where I'm like, I think I need to get like peptides or something like that. Yeah, and it's only going to get worse. So looking forward, I'm like, this is the best it's going to be currently. But your skin looks great, Emily, by the way. I don't know if you're using the laser mask or whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah. So I like to, for my skin, I like to be like 30 to 40 pounds overweight. That's one of my tips for being sort of a youthful plumpness to the skin. And the other thing that I find really good for the skin is smoking like half a pack of cigarettes a day is my top beauty
Oh,
tip right now. So yeah.
that's exciting. We at the school fundraiser, one of my mom friends who I've known since high school was saying that she wants to bring back cigarettes. And so that's sort of been in the discourse. So
Pretty
you,
pretty
as
easy to
always, you're a
do.
trendsetter.
Yeah, I
Okay.
quit vaping. That's how it turns out. That's how you quit vaping.
You know what? You're not hurting anybody. You're
Well,
keeping the economy alive.
yeah.
It just doesn't matter,
You
does
know
it?
what? Keep it up. You look great.
Every single day, Ilya. Of course, Ilya is like, Mom, I don't want you to die. Mom, your lungs are turning black. And I'm like, yeah.
What do you want from
But it's
me?
so cool, but it makes me look cool. And my mom, after her medical incident, I made my dad surrender the cigarettes in her house to me, and I had all these cartons of Carlton Slim 100 menthols. And I actually, like, Quinn, you'll appreciate this. For a second, I tried to give a college try of being like, does someone want these? It seems like a shame to just throw away all these cigarettes. This is quite a lot of money.
Trying to recycle.
And I kind of was like, well, does anybody want some cigarettes? If I put them on the garbage can, someone take them, and then some like know what some like lamos were like, what if children them? I was like, you know what? If a kid finds these, like good for them. But I let Paul take some cigarettes out and like hold them and play with them and open them. So that's my cool mom moment. I don't know if it will make an influence on him on his tobacco use or not use, but it's like, why not? Free cigarettes. Go for it.
Yeah, at least he's
Smoke
not
it if you
stealing
got
from
'em.
you, right?
Not yet. We'll see. Emily, anything on your mind that you want to put out there? This is your one time to get your name out there and to finally put your thoughts out in the world.
Express yourself.
Dave,
Everything you've been piling up.
please watch Heated Rivalry. Like, just do it for me. Just, okay, whatever. I don't want to yum your yuck, but it would be cool if you watched it. I guess there's no reason not to subscribe to Dinner Party. It's free. You don't have to subscribe to New York Magazine. It will incentivize you to subscribe to New York Magazine because you'll click a bunch of links in it and then you'll hit the paywall and you'll be like, subscribe to New York Magazine. So that's how
That's a well-designed sequence.
We get New York
how they get
Magazine
you.
delivered to our house. We love it. It is, I wish it was weekly again. I love the crossword puzzle because I'm also middle-aged. Freaking love New York Magazine, ride or die, and absolutely subscribe to Dinner Party, subscribe to it, keep print alive. And Emily, when is your book like supposed to be due? When should we start looking forward to it?
Dude, at some point in my life, probably. I said at the top of the year that I was going to try to have a draft done this year. So that is my goal.
By 2030, the latest you can expect is to be
That's
published.
not a real year, Claire.
I know.
Yeah.
None of
I
us
know.
are
That's
here
when
by
Paul is graduating high school. Like he has a T-shirt that says Evanston Township High School Class of 2030, and I was like, what is that? That's like a letter. It's like a year with a letter in it practically. It doesn't make any sense to me at all. But thank you for giving us something to look forward to. Thanks for coming and talking with us. And watch Heated Rivalry so you can talk to Emily about it.
If you haven't heard about it, you want to tell people what Heated Rivalry is? We've been just glossing over it this entire time. No one's heard of it.
Oh, it's a show about hockey. Really important to know that it is just primarily about hockey, and you got to know a lot about like the rules of hockey to really understand it and get into it. And made in Canada, so they used a lot of Canadian actors and Canadian artists on the soundtrack. Really good soundtrack, and can't really think of anything else pertinent to know about this show.
Nothing else.
What if I'm just like somebody maybe not into hockey, but I'm into like cottages? Is there a way in for me in this show at all? Like I'm a this old house kind of guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially if you have an interest in sort of like modernist real estate, if you like a floating fireplace, this show has a lot of that to offer.
Sure.
Kitchen counters, beds, lots of beds.
All day.
Yeah, other surfaces also come into
Nancy
play.
Myers by any other name, really.
Yeah,
Watch it with your dad, for sure.
or really any member of your extended family.
Any boomer dad is perfect for that. Really, it's just
Yeah.
like the ideal audience.
You
here.
know, they could maybe learn some things about themselves that they'd never realized
will-
before.
But will they?
Do you usually watch it alone or with Keith? Just
Are you
curious.
crazy?
I don't know how you guys work.
I actually have heard from people who have had the experience of watching it with their husbands and having their husbands be into it. One friend's husband got a boner. I don't know if this is outdated, but the Kinsey Scale like goes from 0 to 6, and 0 is you are the most heterosexual, and 6 is you are the most gay. And I would say like a 2.5 to a 3 on that scale.
Mhm.
It depends on the day. It probably depends on like what part of my menstrual cycle I'm in. But yeah, like 2.5 to a 3. Keith, I would say, is a 0. I've asked him so many times. It's like, so in the locker room, did you guys ever, help each other out? Or, like when you guys were
Lay your
when you-
penis on someone's
when
butt
you were
crack.
founding N+1 late nights, did you guys ever explore each other's bodies? No, they did not do that.
Seems like a wasted
That is
opportunity.
fan fiction.
Claire, where are you on that scale on an average day?
Think about your answer. I'm just going to say that Keith made it through the first 14 minutes and 22 seconds of Heated Rivalry.
That's pretty good. Well, based on what I know.
Yeah.
When walking around during the day, I'm probably what is less than 0. And I don't mean that in terms of like being so heterosexual with being like off the scales, but at night by myself, like maybe more like a 2. But that's another story. That's for another time. But
Sure.
depends
That's not
on
for a parenting podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Depends on the time of the day and where I am and where my blood is flowing. So how about
Sure.
you, Quinn?
I was on a college swim team, so I've seen more dicks and butts than anybody has ever seen. So
Brag.
I think that's just like a baseline in the sense that they don't bother me at all. I've never interacted with them, but I appreciate everybody doing their thing. I've seen so many
We're going to
dicks.
need a number.
Yeah.
Oh, can you explain the scale one more time to me? Is it just 0 to 10?
No, it's 0 to 6. 0 is the most straight. 6 is the most gay.
Oh, 0 to 6. Fascinating scale. Yeah, 2, 3, I guess. I don't know. Not 3. I don't know. 2.
Okay.
Good for them. Good for them.
Sorry, one more penis question. Emily, are you still watching The Pit?
Oh, yeah. I have seen up to 11.
I mean, you watched this season?
Screener privilege. Yeah, I've
Oh,
seen,
okay.
I've seen more
So
pit than most.
What did you think about the erection scene? Did you like that penis? Did you feel like that was a good representation of a penis? Were you just any thoughts on that? Like how does
It was good in terms of gender parity because I think last season we got to see like a vagina look in its worst and the baby's
Yeah.
or its most empowering and life-giving, depending on how you want to.
for most beautiful?
Yeah. We can agree that it is not a horny way to encounter a.
I hope
Well, yeah, something for everyone, but anyway, and yes, that was not a horny way to encounter a penis at all. It was certainly
Yeah.
quite a large penis.
Yeah, it was like that. My word for it was proud. The way it was, they displayed that penis, and it was, I mean, it was a nice looking penis, but also I live with one child. I won't say who out of privacy, but one of my kids has no body shame, and I see a lot of him and a lot of it, and so I don't need more in my life. But anyway, that's all for another time. When we do our penis pod, we'll go into further
wait.
depth on all of this.
Can't wait. It will also almost be called Screaming in the Shower. Head to notrightnow.show for more, or send us feedback, questions, horror stories, doxing, whatever it is, at questions@notrightnow.show.